It's a new thing. It's the 60th. Imagine how much fans love new things and will really rejoice when this happens.
God damn it, Russell T Davies, you lovable bastard. He knows me too well. What's up, everybody? Doctor Who the Giggle has sent shockwaves through the community, and I have had time to sit and think about it. You guys know me, I give my raw initial thoughts, and later I sit there, think about stuff, then come to an actual conclusion at a later date. And good old Rusty T Davies, he knows me too well. He knows how the fans would react to this, and he did it anyway. Because he's a masochist? Or because he's brave? In my opinion, it's because he can. We all as fans have had our ideas or stuff we would want to do if we were in charge, and it seems to me that this Regeneration is something that's been on his mind for quite a while. The idea of the current Doctor meeting the new Doctor, from what I gather, this idea has always been something he wanted to see happen. But before we talk more in depth about that, let's go over my thoughts of the episode. Was it fast? Yes, very fast. Right up until the very end, we're just slamming on the accelerator. Except, unlike the Star Beast, it actually feels appreciated here. The opening scene is incredible. That first shot, intrigue, atmosphere and dread as when we enter the Toy Emporium to meet Neil Patrick Harris. Somehow, I barely mentioned him in my first video, but oh was I excited. In preparation, I'd watched a bunch of clips of him and other stuff and comedy bits and things of that nature, and I was so ready. Thankfully, from just that first scene alone, I knew that I would not be disappointed, and for the rest of the episode, yeah, he did not let us down. He came through. His first giggle, the and then the second one as the man leaves the shop, just great stuff. Then with Stooky Bill. So I of course knew about this stuff since the trailer dropped with the titles quite a while ago actually. So I'd seen the real Stooky Bill, and yeah, that shit is creepy, bruh. It really is perfect to make a Doctor Who episode about, and honestly, I think they handled the concept perfectly. It was spooky, scary, and a little unnerving. I actually mentioned this in my last video, but people being like mind controlled or turned into zombies or things of that nature is probably one of my biggest phobias. It genuinely creeps me out, so big thumbs up to that element. Also, the fact that the toy maker usually turns the people who lose the games into dolls, implying that all of the dolls that we see throughout the episode are real people, is a terrifying thought. Then with the image burning, the giggle sound effect coming out, a top-notch cold open in my opinion. We then cut to the present day and we see all the carnage. Poor Bernard Cribbins, having passed, had to be replaced by a less than convincing body double and a reused soundbite from, I thought it was a Poison Sky, but it could have been from the Sontaran Stratagem. I can't really remember. As I mentioned in my previous video, I liked the social commentary. I thought it was relatively even-handed. I could relate to it. I'm sure many audiences could as well. And genuinely, I have no complaints about the episode on that front. We then arrive at unit headquarters and reunite with Shirley Bingham. She has a strange interaction with Donna, acting as if they're best friends. Sorry pal, I do not know you. We then head inside and are introduced to the Vlinks, a fun, incredibly stupid looking robot which I feel ambivalent to. I want to like it, but it's given me no reason to. Therefore, I am in a state of, it looks somewhere between cool and dumb. Maybe in the unit spin-off it'll play a vital role and hopefully get a makeover. The new Mr. Smith. That's the vibes I got at least. Mel being included is a neat add-on, but am I crazy? It feels like just that. Whereas in Power of the Doctor, Tegan and Ace's inclusions felt not only important but necessary, Mel here feels like a strange add-on who's only included for either spin-off reasons or just because she was available. And this is coming from a Mel fan. It's a bit strange that Martha wasn't here, considering these are the Russell T Davies greatest hits. And they did tease it as well, but who cares? I love the idea of Stooky Bill being literally burned into the image of the TV. And not just that, but every screen. He burns and then is burned in, and also ties into the end of the episode where once the toy maker is banished, we return to the opening where the doll finally burns with the giggle the toy maker implanted in it gone too. It really is a great idea that takes advantage of the terrifying imagery of the real Stooky Bill. Back with unit, Kate Stewart finally feels like a real character here. That's great. After over 10 years of being a fraud, getting by on her dad's coattails and nothing else, we finally see her have character traits, show weakness, and actually care about the Doctor in a way that two people who are presumably friends would. I thought she was gonna slap Doctor Who, and she didn't. I suppose that goes to show how low my standards for her are. I really like how every episode follows on from one another. It feels like a 3-hour epic, with one leading on to the next. Very easily rewatchable. I'm sure I'll look back on this with joy, even if due to real life stuff, Saturday was quite a rough day for me. I hope that didn't bleed out into my initial reaction video. I genuinely did have an enjoyable time. It was just, you know how it is. However, I must confess, a big problem I have with this trilogy of anniversary specials is that they have no reason to exist. We very easily could have gone straight from 13 into 15 and have Ncuti Gatwa be the 14th Doctor for the 14th series. But we didn't. And why? Why did David Tennant come back? Why did 14 take his place? And now it's all over and done with. I still don't know. It feels like a pointless narrative, done for the sake of doing it. Am I saying they're bad? No. Am I saying I'm fully against it? No. But what I am saying is that all of the questions raised in Special 1 have no answer in Special 3. Who's Beep the Meeps boss? Don't know. Why did the 14th Doctor come back? Don't know. And then we go on to Special 2, and as promised, retroactively, if they didn't bring up the Mavity gag and make it have a reason to exist, I'm gonna have to call that out. I gave that scene a massive benefit of the doubt, but now that we know it goes nowhere, cut that shit out of the episode, man. What the hell are we doing? A, it's a waste of time. B, it doesn't fit into anything thematically. C, it's not funny. D, it adds an unnecessary break in time between the Star Beast and Wild Blue Yonder. And F, bunch of people are going to walk away from this program and not know what Isaac Newton looks like. Come on, guys. I'm going to be talking about this at the end, but I think it is hard for me to ignore the fact that David Tennant coming back was hyped up for over a year, and all it eventually ended up amounting to was nothing. No explanation. People are already saying, oh, it'll be explained later, it'll be explained later, about some of the stuff that happened in this episode. I don't know if it will, guys. I would be surprised if the 14th Doctor gets more than one reference in the main show going forward. They're probably going to give like one-off line to explain why he isn't here or something, or they might not even bother with that. A lot of the stuff in this episode are explained with random hand-wavy nonsense, and I really don't know why when we have so many potential ways of answering it. The Celestial Toymaker is a reality-altering villain. So much can be easily answered with his cartoon logic. They eventually resort to that at the end anyway, by saying part of his realm still exists because I need to claim my prize or whatever, to duplicate the TARDIS. But why even duplicate it in the first place? I'm gonna go into it later, don't worry, but this duplicating TARDIS thing really didn't need to happen and just makes everything way more complicated than it needs to be. What I don't get is why they didn't just drop that and then use the Toymaker to justify the bi-generation. You can say words to the effect of, I'm bored of this Doctor, let me fight another one, and then he could just pull the new Doctor out of him. He could say something like, this is who you're meant to be, implying that 14 interrupted the natural regeneration process and the 15th Doctor was meant to be the 14th Doctor. And now on the topic of it, I feel like I should just finally talk about it. Bi-generation. I don't dislike the concept of bi-generation. I just wish it wasn't permanent. Imagine it like this. It's a ticking clock. You can do this and we get to have all the fun of the final set piece, but it can't last. Eventually, they will have to fully merge into Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor. Basically like in Legopolis. The Doctor only has a couple of days, maybe a week or so, left to live, and he chooses to spend it with the nobles. See, now that's a perfect ending. We get everything everyone wants. Russell T Davies gets his happy ending, and all of us get to go on with the normal show. Now, of course, the onus is up to the fans to create the explanations because it's not in the show. So I've heard a couple, and the one that I most like myself, and this is kind of how I walked out of the episode feeling too. The 14th Doctor will eventually turn into 15. He just needs time to grieve and get over himself. Eventually he will go back and insert himself into the moment he was meant to regenerate and then become the 15th Doctor. And he thus makes him turning into a mentally healed version of himself a fixed point, which forces him to decide to stay behind and heal himself. Just him on Discord sent me this handy dandy graphic to figure it out, and while this is all well and good, now the question we have left is, why are there two TARDISes? If there is only one Doctor, just at two different points in the timeline, which I am a fan of, I like that idea, surely there can't be two identical TARDISes. where do one of these go? If the Doctor is going on adventures every now and then, how can he heal or settle down? Russell T Davies didn't commit to a clear answer. He didn't explain anything he meant, and he just let all the fans speculate the answers for him. Now, while I do in a way rate that, it's also pretty annoying, and it leads to multiple readings of the same episode. For example, I received a couple of comments saying that they think the 14th Doctor will become the curator from the 50th anniversary. And I mean, maybe that's the implication, but also if the 14th Doctor becomes the 15th Doctor, then that can't happen. And also I think it's very stupid. You have people saying that this is the end of the original Doctor, and now we're moving on with a new and rebooted Doctor. But that can't be the case if 15 is just 14 from the future. And also I think it's very stupid. I'm going to talk about the very end in a second. Let's just stay on this wavelength. I think I should elaborate on my point that I thought Ncuti Gatwa's moment was stolen from him, because in a way I do. Now I want to make it clear, I love his performance. I thought the energy was electric, he had great chemistry with David Tennant, bouncing off the walls, running around, all that, and I think he's a great casting for Doctor Who. But at the same time, he could have at least been given one scene where he's on his own. Just one. And I don't mean the ending where he doesn't even say a word and is just looking at the camera. That doesn't count. Now, I know that at Christmas it will all be secured and we won't have to worry anymore, but I do think it's the responsibility of a Doctor's first episode to instill them as the Doctor in Doctor Who. I mean, because otherwise you get episodes like Name of the Doctor or Fugitive of the Judoon, where yes, they introduce a Doctor, and yes, both of those Doctors are very fun and the fandom likes them, but they're not really the Doctor. And as I feared, a lot of people are seemingly treating him in that same way. From the discussion I saw online, while people like me can't wait to abandon and leave 14 in the dust and travel the stars with 15, a significant part of the audience are satisfied to stay with him, to see his miscellaneous adventures going to Tesco and other such. And I can't really blame them. The ending is focused on him. The moments after the Toymaker's demise are all him. The 15th Doctor fulfills the role of the companion, telling the Doctor, it's not your fault. Surely the Doctor would be the one who's lamenting how so many people died. And I understand he doesn't have baggage, we'll get onto that later, but it just doesn't make him feel like the real Doctor. There is a reason most shows follow only one protagonist. And when you have the perfect idea of Regeneration, the best idea ever invented for renewing a program, to instead abandon that for something a whole lot more clunky, and in fact the exact situation the concept of Regeneration was meant to avoid, it leaves the audience intentionally split. I don't mean that in a bad way, I simply mean it in a, oh well, now I'm satisfied and we'll stop watching kind of way. This episode feels like David Tennant fans got their ending and now they can finally stop watching. Maybe that's a childish analysis, but Regeneration was created so that even when the actors stopped, the character still went on and the audience followed with them. Bi-generation lets the character technically move on, but a part of the audience sticks behind. It really is just a messy idea with no explanation, no clear benefits, rules made up by the fans. It feels like Russell T Davies had no conviction. He couldn't commit to a clear ending. This whole episode feels unconfident in itself. And it really shows it in its third act, the game of Bool. Now, I really tried to think of what the significance of this game could be, but in the end I decided to just give up and just accept it is what it is. They just decided to play Bool. Now, why the Doctor and Doctor didn't just pass the ball back and forth between each other and then mix the Toymaker, I don't know, but I guess the energy in the scene is high. That's a pro. And then the all-powerful Toymaker is beaten just like that. What a shame. It feels like everything set up in the second act was just abandoned. I bet you didn't even notice I skipped over it. Let's go back and see what happened. The Doctor heads back in time and goes into the Toy Emporium. After a few effective scenes showing the man turned into a puppet, the Doctor and Donna are taken to the Toy Theatre. We then see the Toymaker's show, referencing Amy, Clara, Bill, and the Flux, but not Rory, Nardole, or any of the stuff with Yaz. The Toymaker repeatedly says, oh well, that's alright then. But why isn't it alright? Yes, the Doctor lost all these people, but with Amy and Rory, for example, the Doctor has had plenty of time to grieve. The 11th Doctor is probably the longest lived modern series Doctor. He spent a long time getting over their deaths. And I think this ties in with another of my big complaints. Oh, the Doctor is too old, he can't hack it anymore, and he needs to slow down.
So, we all get old, we can't hack it anymore, and that's it. Yeah. That's your theory. Yeah.
The new Doctor Who is the Doctor without any of the baggage. This is the third time you've shown Doctor Who without any of the baggage. The people forget that 13 was meant to be the Doctor without any of the baggage. The first Doctor to have finally gotten over the Time War. Now, I don't like Twice Upon a Time as an episode, but it is meant to be the Doctor moving on. He accepts his past, he gets his memories of Clara back, he lets it go. This ending in The Giggle kind of reminds me of the ending to The Star Beast, with Donna saying to the Doctor, a male presenting so-and-so could never let it go or whatever, as if he hasn't already done that in the past. Same thing here. Oh, the Doctor has never done this adventure before, except he did with River Song. Oh whoops, we forgot. I said in my video I couldn't imagine Doctor Who going to modern day Earth and then living there, and that's because I can't. It just isn't the Doctor. Yes, he can lock himself away in one place, usually the TARDIS, for a very long time, but not like this, to spend the time with some random family I don't give two fucks about. Why is Mel even here? Did she become a family member? I like Mel. Why do these characters like Mel? They've never even met. Now she shows up to the functions? Okay. Donna works for UNIT now? I thought she hated UNIT. Why do all of the companions have to go to UNIT? It's boring, repetitive, and it doesn't fit. By the way, there is a very clear link between the Meta Crisis in the Star Beast and the Regeneration in the Giggle, at least thematically. But I just haven't figured it out yet. They are very similar, but I think it may end up only being superficially. To say the 15th Doctor is the first Doctor without baggage? What are we talking about? We all saw the teaser. We know he's crying in the next episode. And people pretending like the baggage was holding the show back? Oh please. People complained in Series 11 that it wasn't edgy enough, that the Doctor wasn't moping enough. Part of the reason the flux happened in the first place is because people were mad that the Doctor was too friendly and kiddie, and they wanted the trauma back. And while I do myself personally prefer Doctor Who without the melodrama, I can't hate, because part of the appeal of the revival was the tragedy of it all, the Time War, the Doctor's emotions, those scenes where he would just break down. The Zygon inversion speech is popular for a reason, and it seems Rusty Davies knows people love melodrama, which is why 15 is already crying in his first episode. So what's the point in removing the baggage? All it does is limit other writers who are just going to ignore it anyway. Like, yes, I understand. This decision isn't permanent. It's going to be undone, I imagine, almost instantaneously. But that still makes it dumb. I've made videos before criticizing The Timeless Child, even though I knew that it would be instantly retconned, and it already has been. In this episode, the Toymaker says, "I made a jigsaw out of your past, did you like it?" It's a great line, and one which brushes aside The Timeless Child, wipes the slate clean for new writers, just as we all knew would happen. But that doesn't mean that one can't still criticize the decision. And by criticize, I mean rationally, comment section, not blindly hating. But anyway, back to the scene. The Toymaker repeatedly says to the Doctor, "Well, that's all right then." But he never elaborates. Why does this element not come back up? Why does this not play a role in the climax of the episode? The Doctor and the Toymaker then play a game. Donna tells the Doctor that the Toymaker will cheat, but he says he won't, for some reason. The Toymaker then cheats and beats Doctor Who. These games aren't very exciting, I must confess. With this one, I can excuse it, but it begins to make you wonder, are there any games this Toymaker knows that aren't incredibly basic? The room then collapses. It's the same effect from Flux, which is cool. And then we return to the present day for the best scene of the episode. Neil Patrick Harris comes in and sings Spice Girls, making a mockery of UNIT and showing how truly terrifying a threat he is, turning the soldiers into balls and bullets into petal slips. A truly funny, energetic, entertaining extravaganza of a scene. Not anything we haven't seen before, but still a joy to witness. I enjoy the tradition. Villains dancing to pop music while highlighting their villainy. Yet another element ripped straight from Power of the Doctor, but this time I'll give it a pass because the scene just before that in Power of the Doctor shamelessly rips off Rusty Davies, so we're all winning. It really is just fun to watch, to be a part of. Neil Patrick Harris really does steal the show with his infectious energy, the constant switching between accents, the magic tricks, the excitement, and the dance moves. Everything is top notch. And then we get to the Regeneration scene. La-di-da, I already talked about it. Let's go over the pros. The instinct, I challenge you to a duel. Pretty badass. It's time to duel. The two actors clearly like each other. It helps with the on-screen chemistry, and I'm rooting so hard for Ncuti Gatwa that any of the potential flaws in his performance just flew way over my head. It's seamless. The toy maker shows him his golden tooth containing the master. For some reason, cool, I guess, and a hand picks it up at the end. People were telling me it's a cosmic entity doing that. Sure. The Doctor then throws a ball really hard and the day is saved. Doctor Who hits the TARDIS with a big hammer and then boom! 2 TARDISes. 1 psychopath per TARDIS, am I right? The Doctor then goes home to have a big dinner scene that's just a little bit too long, while the real Doctor goes off to have countless adventures in time and space. Destination Christmas. The new trailer looks interesting as well, but if I remember correctly, this scene kind of mirrors how Rusty Davies has described him meeting his husband in the past. So that's pretty sweet. I wonder if that means that these two characters are gonna have a romantic thing going. I wouldn't be surprised. But all of the stuff jumping from the rooftops looks great. I'm very intrigued and can't wait to see Ncuti Gatwa steal the show. Usually in these videos, I talk about the themes of the episode, the subtext, its grander role in the show's history, but in this episode, there doesn't really seem to be a lot of that. What you see is what you get, for good and for bad, and there isn't really a lot below the surface. The first 2 acts set up something spectacular, but in a possible set piece, it's all resolved and we end up exactly where we started, with nothing having changed except there's another Doctor Who going around. Another Doctor Who should have no reason to not save the day this Christmas, but I guess he was just taking the day off. A payoff 60 years in the making. This isn't just resolution for Tennant's Doctor, this is a resolution for the Doctor, the original Doctor. After millennia of travelling, he can rest. He finally knows peace. Did we watch the same show? The Giggle is good. I'm thinking 6, 7 out of 10. 9 out of 10 with the commentary. It may sound like I've been overly negative, but I cannot understate how effective those first 2 acts of television are. And it's not like the 3rd act totally drops the ball. It's not awful or anything. I don't even think it's bad. I just don't really like it. And I can see how if you're someone who does like the change or creative decisions, this could be one of your favorites of all time. But for me, I'm kind of seeing it as a less fun and inferior version of Power of the Doctor. I'll be going over more of my thoughts in the community reaction video and my overall review of the 60th anniversary, which should hopefully be coming sometime in January. But thank you so much for the support on the channel recently, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Can you believe that now, even still, 92% of people don't subscribe? You're killing me. And if you want to help support the channel, you can click the join button below to gain access to a multitude of perks and benefits, including extra videos, my live community reactions to episodes, and access to the Discord server. A massive thank you to the members. Just Tim, Teddy Bite, Green Goko, Ido First, Eric, Andrea, Zay, Kastretch, Oz Baxter, Potnoodle OW, Pied Piper, Dr. Skelly, Architect Maggie132, and Sanyu. And with all that said, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.